Buddhadhamma, page 495, Chapter 5, Law of Karma, social or collective kamma, Theravada Buddhism. People often pose the question whether social or collective kamma exists. Some people claim that kamma is restricted to an individual. The kamma generated by an individual pertains only to that person. The person who sows the seed reaps the fruit. Kamma therefore only exists on an individual level. It is a private matter. In summary, social or collective kamma does not exist. Holding to such view, however, may be a form of delusion. When faced with such questions, is it not always necessary to answer them directly? Sometimes it suffices to share specific principles on this subject with the questioners, and thus allow them to dispel their own doubts. What is kamma? As most students of Buddhism are aware, kamma is action, specifically action generated by intention, cetana in Pali term. Indeed, the Buddha Gautama stated that kamma is intention, or intention is kamma, either or, cetana. In term of the individual, whoever performs kamma, whoever is the owner of a volitional deed, experiences its fruits, the results of intention. From this perspective, kamma is an individual matter. If red dye is added to the glass of water, the water becomes red. If green dye is added to another glass, the water becomes green. The two glasses are clearly separate from one another. Human beings are distinct from material objects found in nature, inso as far as they perform volitional actions. All human affairs and occupation, building, agriculture, crafts, tailoring, etc., are a consequence of human intention. They follow the volitional designs of human beings. Collectively, the myriad activities and enterprises performed by human beings are referred to as human society, as the human world. Human society comprises of the world of human volitional activity, directed and determined by intention, cetana. The human world is thus a world of kamma, a world full of action. In brief, kamma is a matter pertaining to human beings. Human matter are equivalent to kamma. Individual kamma does exist, yet when one examines kamma from a broader perspective, kamma pertains to all human activities. It is the catalyst for the foundation of human society. Generally speaking, one need not differentiate the kamma of an individual people and the kamma of society, or to distinguish between kamma on the personal level and kamma on the social level. Instead of making that distinction, one should distinguish kamma, all of which pertains to human beings, from matters dealing with material objects, the natural environment, trees and plants, etc. Although each person leads an individual life, the very engagement and interaction with others is the basis for society. Similarly, although everyone performs individual kamma, action, when people live together and perform volitional actions towards or in collaboration with others, a specific kind of social karma is created. When viewing kamma in this broad sense, one sees that it comprises both individual human beings all the way up to the entire human society. For this reason, except for the purpose of unique considerations, it is unnecessary to distinguish between individual and social kamma. Take the example of a village in which the residents are farmers and sustain a decent living by works in the fields. One day, a gambler skilled at cockfighting visits the village and displays his craft. He drums up interest in others, encouraging them to engage in cockfighting. This is his own intentional action. He will receive the fruits of the action in this way. Here, the perspective is on the individual level. A further analysis reveals before long, almost every head of the household in the village adopts the new activity. Delighting in the joy of cockfighting, they neglect their work. Each individual who acts in this way likewise receives the fruits of his or her intentional action. A broader perspective of the entire village, however, reveals the collective fruit of a change in lifestyle among the large portion of the villagers, including an increase in alcohol consumption and theft. The entire fortune of the village, even including physical environments, undergoes an alteration as a consequence of these actions. By examining these series of events, one is able to distinguish between those matters pertaining to the individual and those pertaining to the community as a whole. In terms of formal teaching, a broader perspective reveals how the set of conditions, paccayakara, are naturally interconnected. Many Buddhists may have heard the Pali term kamuna vati loko, which may be translated as the world turns by way of kamma, by way of action. It is important to understand the deeper meaning of this teaching. Kamuna vati loko, the world, loko, here refers to human society. Let us examine how the human world proceeds according to kamma. This passage found in the Vesita Sutta, in which the Buddha Gautama teaches the principle of kamma in order to repudiate the caste system of the Brahmins. The Brahmins held the doctrines that the god Brahma created the world and set up a definite social system for human beings, determining the division into 4 castes: the Kshatriyas, kings and rulers; Brahmanas, the Brahmins, or the monks, the sages; the Vaisas, merchants and traders; and the Suttas, manual workers, the lower class. Having been born into one of these social classes, one had to remain in that class for the rest of one's life. There was no way to alter one's status. The Buddha Gautama refuted this doctrine, stating the world of human beings proceed according to kamma. He emphasized those intentional actions that are performed on a regular basis, becoming the ingrained way of life of an individual or the tradition of the community. This refers in particular to people's work or profession. In the Pali term, kamma often refers to the occupation or profession. People's work and occupation are precisely what is meant by the term kamma in this phrase. The world turns by way of kamma. The world of human beings does not follow the dictates of the god Brahma, nor is it predetermined in any sort of unyielding or inflexible way. The world turns as a consequence of the works and activities intentionally chosen and undertaken by human beings themselves. Although the Vesita Sutta has been cited in other chapters of the Buddhadhamma, the subject matter under discussion was different. Here are passages relevant to this context. Look here, Vesita. You should know that he who makes his living among men by tending cattle is called a farmer. He is not a Brahmin. Whoever makes his living by various craft is called a craftsman. Whoever makes his living by trade is called a merchant. Whoever makes his living by serving others is called a servant. Whoever makes his living by stealing is called a robber. Whoever makes his living by archery and swordsmanship is called a soldier. Whoever makes his living by priestly craft is called a chaplain. He is not a Brahmin. Whoever governs the town and realms is called a ruler. He is not a Brahmin. Whoever harbors no he who harbors no residual defilements, who clings no more. He is the one I call a Brahmin. One is not a Brahmin by birth. By action is a Brahmin. By action is one a non-Brahmin. For people are farmers by their action. Kamma, action, work, occupation, behavior. By their actions are people's craftsmen, merchants, servants, robbers, soldiers, chaplains, rulers too. The truly wise seers of the dependent origination, patisammupata, skilled in action and its results, see action as it really is. Kamma makes the world go around. Kamma makes this generation turn. In summary, according to the Buddhist teaching, human society manifests and proceeds according to people's work and occupations and the way in which people live their lives. It is not ultimately dependent on a caste system based on one's birth and family, which the Brahmins claimed was prescribed and created by Brahma. As mentioned earlier, the principle of kamma, action, is one aspect of the teaching of dependent origination, the law of causal and effect. The chapter on dependent origination was mentioned in how the Buddha described a mode of continuality, paccayakara, in terms of how social problems originate. One can label this process dependent origination in regard to social affliction. The problem of individual suffering, dukkha, and the problem of society are all problems linked to or arising as results of human beings. They are interconnected and part of a whole. Individual problems spread outwards, creating social problems, which may then turn around and intensify individual problems. Therefore, the scriptures do not emphasize a distinction between these various kinds of karmic process. Of the three kinds of kamma, or action, physical action, verbal action, and mental action, Gautama Buddha stated that mental action produces the greatest consequence. Of all these factors of mental action, the one given special emphasis is ditthi, view, namely a person's way of thinking, belief system, opinions, ideology, religious beliefs, ideals, etc. An example of the impact views have on society is the religious and spiritual leaders have been able to create revolutionary events and change throughout history by proclaiming their ideas, causing others to endorse, undertake, practice, and spread these teachings. The driving force behind every social and civilization is the collection of views and beliefs, and the fortunes, both positive and negative, of human societies are a consequence of such mental actions performed by people living in these societies. The following passage by Gautama Buddha confirms the juxtaposition of how views are volitional actions arising in the mind, while at the same time having a tremendous bearing on society and the world. Monks, bhikkhus, there is one person who arises in the world for harm of many people, for the unhappiness of many people, for the ruin, harm, and suffering of many people, of devatas and of human beings. Who is that one person? It is one who holds wrong view and has incorrect perspective. He draws many people away from the true Dhamma, establish them in a false Dhamma. This is what one person who arises in the world for the harm of many people, the unhappiness of many people, for the ruin, harm, and suffering of many people, of devatas and of human beings. Monks, bhikkhus, there is one person who arises in the world for the welfare of many people, for happiness of many people, for the good welfare and happiness of many people, of devatas and human beings. Who is that one person? It is one who holds right view and has a correct perspective. He draws many people away from false Dhamma, establish them in the true Dhamma. This is that one person who arises in the world for the welfare of many people, the happiness of many people, for the good, welfare, and happiness of many people, of devatas and of human beings. In general terms, one may judge religious leaders, intellectual, politicians, etc., who influence society through sharing their ideals by the fruits of their action, using the standard found in Gautama Buddha's descriptions of the attributes of great man in the Mahapurisa. He is practicing for the welfare and happiness of many people. He is one who established many people in the noble way of being endowed with wholesome and virtuous qualities. This corresponds with frequently cited Buddhist maxim: act for the welfare and happiness of the many folk, for the compassionate assistance of the world. Buddhadhamma hitaya bahujana sukhaya lokanukampaya. Act for the welfare and happiness of many folks, for the compassionate assistance of the world. To reiterate, action, kamma, is a matter pertaining to human beings. All other matters related to human beings, including those dynamic present in the human mind, involve other laws of nature and simply proceed according to causes and conditions. But it's precisely kamma, action, volitional thoughts, volitional speech, volitional actions. That is a unique and inherent quality of human state of existence. One can say that human life is characterized by volitional action, kamma. The expression social kamma or collective kamma may be misleading. It is more apt to say human kamma, and then to distinguish between kamma dealing with an individual and kamma dealing with society, or kamma bearing fruit for an individual and kamma extending outwards and creating specific social conditions. The most important matter affecting society are those actions performed by individuals when relating and associating to one another, the circumstances of individuals or society as a whole, or as the consequence of people's volitional actions, people's thoughts, people's speech, and people's actions condition human society. The world turns because of kamma, of action. As mentioned earlier, the essence of kamma, action, is intention, cetana. The word cetana is thus shaped and molded by human intention, a preliminary form of intentional activity on the social level, guided by human intelligence. It is the establishment of conventional rules, a form of mutual agreement in order to assist the social engagement and relationships. With panya, wisdom, guiding intention, cetana, human beings are able to participate as a vital factor in the natural causal process in order to alter the course of events in a way that fits with their desires. This participation is particularly effective in the context of establishing a system of social conventions, which lies at the heart of any society. Here, panya, wisdom, has an understanding of Dhamma, the truth of nature, of the law of nature. Cetana, intention, the key factor to the law of kamma, applies this understanding to formulate a system of social convention, which is called vinaya. The society receives the fruits of these volitional actions according to the level of panya, wisdom, and the quality of the mind inherent in those who formulate these conventions. This is the link between the law of nature and human conventions. In particular, to the link between the law of kamma, kamma-niyāma, and the conventional laws, sammati-niyāma. A true civilization is only created when people are able to understand and reach this balance between the truth, Dhamma, and the conventional prescriptions, vinaya. Among public officials entrusted with specific social duties, there are those who seek out personal advantage and profit. Other people may live out their lives outside of any formally appointed public position, but yet be fully dedicated to the welfare of society. If one understands the principle of kamma, action, one will be able to distinguish in these cases which matter pertains to the individual kamma and which to the social or society kamma.